Tuesday, October 24th meeting of the Common Council. Mr. Boyce, will you lead us in the pledge?
Absolutely.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Ms. Lees, will you call the roll?
Mr. Ayr,
Present.
Mr. Boyce,
Present.
Mr. Davis,
Present.
Mr. O'Connor, Mr. Peterson,
Present.
Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Sparks,
Present.
Ms. Wiles,
Present.
Mr. Smith.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes for our October 10th work session.
Move to approve?
Second. There's a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our October 10th work session. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any abstentions? Okay, six,
I wasn't here.
6-1. Approval from the minutes from our October 10th meeting.
Move to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve our minutes from our October 10th meeting. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 6. Any abstentions?
1.
6-1. Approval of tonight's agenda.
Mr. President, I would move to miscellaneous number 3 and RC 4723. I would like to postpone those to our next regular scheduled meeting. And I would like to remove the proposed development presentation number 1 from the agenda.
I will second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to remove proposed development presentation number 1 from the agenda and postpone miscellaneous number 3 RC-47-23 to our next regular meeting. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. President, I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. This is also a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Petitions or comments by citizens who are present. I do not have any, but if you would like to speak, there are cards out there, and I will call you up when your item is up for consideration. Mr. Mayor, did you want to say anything? Cool.
First time, lost with
Yeah, right.
no words. First
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Council committee reports. Finance, Mr. Davis.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met October 19th. Greg O'Connor, Darren Peterson, Megan Wiles, and myself. John Hughes and Jess Baldwin discussed the lease rental agreement for the Pleasant Street Phase 1 and 2. Holly Ramone discussed 2024 city employee salary ordinance amendment. Jess Baldwin discussed the 2024 civil city maximum property tax rate. Ian Zalgowski and Jess Spalding discussed the 2024 civil city budget adopted. We're going to hear about this stuff tonight. Jess Spalding updated us on the high assessed value levy growth appeal. Caitlin Moss gave us an update on the quarterly investment performance for quarter 3, 2023. And Ian Zalgowski gave us an update on the quarterly financial reports for quarter 3, 2023 also. That and the claims come to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Mr. President,
Ms. Wiles.
I would move that we approve the claims as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Previously discussed ordinances. Council to consider ordinance number 24-09-23 and ordinance establishing the 2024 budget. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is what I have words about tonight. Mr. Aaron, don't you fear. It's great to be with you guys tonight again to present our 4th administration's budget with your support. I want to start by saying for those that are watching online or in the gallery tonight, how much I appreciate the collaboration we have with the City Council. This doesn't happen overnight. This has a lot of hands and opinions and thoughts and numbers put into it. It starts very early in the year as early as May and June with collaboration between you and different departments throughout the city. Just so folks know, our city council members are paired up with different departments throughout the city and serve as liaisons and work with them to understand budgets and really do a thorough comb through of the dollars that we spend. I think there's nothing more important, other than saving lives, I would say, than spending taxpayer dollars. And we'll talk about how those go hand in hand here in just a second. So I just want to thank you. I also want to thank Deputy Mayor Matt Light, who does just a phenomenal job at corralling all the pieces of this together and really helps spearhead that from our office. I want to thank Jeff Spalding and his entire team at the Office of Finance and Accounting. And then I'll finally offer a thanks to Holly Ramone, who will be up in front of you shortly with the salary ordinance. But she fights diligently and relentlessly for our city employees. And I know they thank her and appreciate all the efforts, and we all thank her. So I just want to say thank you. I think sometimes we are spoiled with the relationship that we have and the great work that we do, and it doesn't go unnoticed by our team in City Hall. So thank you very much. The budget that you have in front of you for fiscal year 2024 is a budget that aligns spending with revenue trends that we have seen throughout the United States while keeping our taxes low, which can at times be a challenge in a majorly growing community, which we're proud of. It prioritizes public safety, road and infrastructure improvements, economic and tourism development, preserving and enhancing our historic downtown, which has been a pillar of our administration from day one, and also invests heavily in quality of life for our residents, both current and future, which is hugely important. It maintains a property tax rate of $1.10, which you all are familiar with. It's something that we have maintained for the past 5 years. It is important for us to budget towards going forward. It includes $11.1 million in major road improvement projects, which I can tell you, it sounds like a lot of money. It's probably a drop in the bucket of what we need to continue to be investing as we grow going forward. But 11.1 is nothing to balk at as we look at infrastructure projects. It invests a record amount of dollars into our public safety department. Our guys and gals who wear the uniform every single day, some of which are standing over my right shoulder, do incredible work every day to keep our city strong and safe, and it is priority number one. I know it's what you all think of when the alarm goes off in the morning. It's certainly what I think of as well, and we could not be the community we are today without them and their service. This budget invests 50.1% of our annual budget is going towards public safety. And again, I think that speaks to the priority that we put on keeping Noblesville safe and secure. It will invest in 8 new sworn police officers, fund a new ambulance to support demands and also the demand on quicker response times in our growing community. It funds site preparation and design for a new police station to replace the outdated facility that's been in use since 1992. I want to just reiterate, this funds site preparation and design for a new police station that will go to replace the outdated facility that has been in use since 1992. Sometimes we talk about things for so long, people don't believe they will happen, and we are committed to investing in a new public safety facility going forward. It expands our Noble Act program, which I think is one of the shining examples of our community, and I think you're going to hear more about our Noble Act program next week at our State of the City, and really how we are leading the state of Indiana in paramedicine and community-based paramedicine, and partnering with the private sector and doing just incredible work for some of our most at-risk community members. It invests in Reimagine Pleasant Street, which you can learn more at reimaginepleasantst.com, this great initiative that we have launched, and then also continues to invest in Innovation Mile, which is really the growth of our future economic development on the Far East Side. So again, I just want to say thank you for the work that you have done, the time that you have spent, and I think I am very confident going to bed tonight knowing that we are investing taxpayer dollars wisely to continue to grow our community, keep our taxes low, and make sure that Noblesville is a great place to live, work, and play. With that, I'm happy to take any questions, or I would urge you to move this forward.
Any questions for the mayor? I would just echo what you said. It takes collaboration, and I mean, very few people realize how much work and months of planning goes into putting it all together to package it to what we see tonight. So I appreciate all the work that you guys do.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Wiles?
I would move that we approve ordinance number 24-09-23 as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 24-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Sorry. Mr. Ayers?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is approved.
Council to consider ordinance number 25-09-23, a salary ordinance for appointed officials and employees of the city of Noblesville for 2024 as amended. Ms. Ramon.
Good evening, Holly Ramon, Human Resources Director. As described in my memo, we had to make 2 slight adjustments to the salary ordinance that was presented to all of you on September 26th. The one was the maximum biweekly salary noted for the senior mechanic was stated incorrectly, and the maximum biweekly salary for the urban forester technician did not indicate the change in pay grade. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Ramon?
Mr. President, I would move to amend ordinance 250923 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to amend ordinance number 25-09-23 as presented. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 250923 as amended.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 25-09-23 as amended. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Air?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council to consider ordinance number 26-09-23, a salary ordinance for elected officials for the city of Noblesville for 2024. Ms. Ramon.
The ordinance before you is as was presented at our September 26th meeting with no changes, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Mr. President, I would move to approve ordinance 260923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 26-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Air?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is approved.
Council to consider ordinance number 27-09-23, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and the sale of short-term bonds of the city, Series A, for the purpose of providing funds to be used for the cost of certain capital projects. Mr. Spalding.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the council, Jeff Spalding, CFO and Controller, and as discussed when introduced at the last meeting, we have an annual short-term bond that we issue that's part of our tax rate management strategy, which we'll even have another fiscal action later that discusses this. And what you have in front of you is a series of actions authorizing the issuance of that debt and then appropriating the proceeds from those bonds to be issued in late December.
Any questions for Mr. Spalding?
Mr. President, I would move to approve ordinance 270923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 27-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Air?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is approved.
Council to consider ordinance number 28-09-23, an ordinance appropriating the proceeds of capital projects short-term general obligation bonds of 2023 Series A. Mr. Spalding.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the council, as just previously mentioned, this is a companion to the ordinance you just adopted, which is that ordinance authorized Series A for these bonds, and this ordinance appropriates the funds, authorizing the spending of the money once the debt is issued.
Any questions for Mr. Spalding on this one?
Mr. President,
Yeah.
I would move that we approve
I
ordinance.
need
Need
to
public hearing.
do a public hearing first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But you can help me out in a second.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance number 28-09-23.
Mr. President, seeing no one come forward, I would move to close the public hearing for ordinance 280923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing for ordinance number 28-09-23. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. President,
There you go.
I would move that we approve ordinance number 28-09-23 as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 28-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Ayers?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay, the ordinance is approved.
Council to consider ordinance number 29-09-23, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of short-term bonds of the city, Series B, for the purpose of providing funds to be used for the cost of certain road and streets projects. Mr. Spalding.
Mr. President, members of the council, again, this is part of this package that we've been talking about, and the only additional explanatory information that I will provide as referenced in the title is when we do this issuance, we split it out into a Series A and a Series B, with the Series B dedicated entirely to road and transportation-related projects for some fairly arcane municipal finance reasons, but that's the difference and distinction there.
Arcane reasons.
Yeah,
I'm shocked.
right.
Any questions for Mr. Spalding on this one?
Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 290923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 29-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Ayers?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay, the ordinance is approved.
Council to consider ordinance number 30-09-23, an ordinance appropriating the proceeds of the capital project's short-term general obligation bonds of 2023 Series B. Mr. Spalding.
And again, Mr. President, members of the council, as was the case with Series A bonds, this is your authorization for us to expend the proceeds from the Series B bonds once that debt is issued.
Any questions for Mr. Spalding? We'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance number 30-09-23.
Mr. President, seeing no one come forward, I move to close the public hearing on ordinance 300923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing for ordinance number 30-09-23. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 300923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 30-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Ayers?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks? Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay, the ordinance is approved.
Thank you. Council to consider ordinance number 33-09-23, an ordinance amending ordinance number 83-12-21 of the Common Council of the City of Noblesville, Indiana, concerning health benefits for certain retired and appointed employees / elected officials of the City of Noblesville. Ms. Ramon.
Holly Ramone, Human Resources Director. The ordinance before you is what was presented at our September 26th meeting. There are no changes, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Ramon?
Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 330923.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 33-09-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Ayers?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay, the ordinance is approved.
Thank you. Council to consider ordinance number 36-10-23, An ordinance adopting a change in land use category from industrial office to commercial office within the corporate campus plan development district for approximately 32 acres in the 14,200 block of East 141st Street South Side. Ms. Ashland.
Good evening. This proposal came to you from the Plan Commission with a favorable recommendation to adopt. It is a change of land use within the corporate campus zoning district, and it would allow the uses envisioned with our Pacers G League project, and the conceptual site plan is on the screen for you.
Any questions for Ms. Ashelman?
Mr. President,
Ms. Wiles?
I would move that we approve ordinance number 36-10-23 as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 36-10-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Air?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance
Thank
is
you.
approved.
Thank you. Council to consider ordinance number 42-10-23, an ordinance approving an additional appropriation in the Parks Program Fund to authorize the expenditure of additional revenue collected due to stronger than expected sales in the city's golf operations. Mr. Zagowski.
Yes, good evening. This was previously presented to you at the October 10th meeting. Again, this is, our golf business is having another banner year, record-setting year, and with that comes additional expenses. This isn't providing the golf department any additional money. It's solely just giving them the approval to basically spend the money that they're generating this year to cover those expenses that go along with that higher than expected revenue.
Any questions for Mr. Zagowski or Mr. Bennett, who's in the audience about this? He talked about it last meeting.
I appreciate how golf is doing. Great job.
If not, I will go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance number 42-10-23.
Mr. President,
Ms. Wiles.
seeing no one come forward, I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to close the public hearing for ordinance number 42-10-23. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 42-10-23.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 42-10-23. This is a roll call vote.
Just 1 second. There we go. Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Air?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. New ordinances for discussion. Council to consider ordinance number 44-10-23, an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance number 62-12-95 regarding Article 4, Article 5, Article 8, and Appendix B regarding procedures and submittals.
Move to introduce.
Second.
Ordinance 44-10-23.
Ms. Ashland.
Good evening. In 2022, the city underwent a review of the processes that relate to the filing of an application for a public hearing. That's mostly things for Board of Zoning Appeals and Plan Commission, and this group is also involved. We were specifically looking at 4 ways to provide more transparency to the process and also to provide more clarity about our expectations for the applicants and the public as they filed applications with us. During that process, we found that there were some conflicting timeline requirements within the zoning code and also a number of statements that affected the timing of reviews that were undertaken by the city. Article 4 revisions look to make clear that all public hearing filings and filings for review from TAC are subject to the timelines of our planning department. We adopt a filing dates and meeting filing deadlines and meeting dates calendar for all our committees. That actually becomes the official mechanism for that. And then we also included some language as it relates to the processing of plan development applications. There was also a move in that section. There was some language in Article 8 in the plan development section that more appropriately should have been placed in Article 4. So if you go through the red line, you'll see a lot of crossouts. In Article 8, they either moved to Article 4 or Appendix B, which is where they more appropriately were placed with similar material. So Article 5 removed some language that just said within X number of days an action would occur. The action still occurs, the X number of days requirement's just not in there. Article 8 was some rewording and renumbering and also moving. And then Appendix B was clarification and adding some consistent language about expectations for submittals, like that images had to be clear, they had to be filed digitally, that type of thing. This does come to you with a recommendation to approve from the Plan Commission 11-0. We'll wait the 2 weeks on this. If you have questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. Ms. Reed will be presenting it to you on the 14th. So if you just want to email, I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Was there, Mr. Boyce, was there much discussion at this at the Plan Commission?
No.
Thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions for Ms. Ashelman? Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Well, not you. We'll see Ms. Reed in 2 weeks. Council to consider ordinance number 46-10-23, an ordinance for a planned development for approximately 32 acres in the 14,200 block of East 141st Street, South Side, a part of Innovation Mile.
Move to introduce ordinance 46-1023.
Second.
Ms. Ashelman.
I brought my site plan back. This is also related to the Pacers G League project. This is the adoption of a plan development ordinance to govern development of this specific site, this 32-acre site south of 141st Street. The biggest thing about this plan development ordinance is it sets out a review committee for approval of the development within this property. It is a 7-member committee. It would include 2 Plan Commission members, 2 council members, the Economic Development Director, the Community Development Director, and the city engineer. That group looks at development proposals on that property, and they have the ability to approve or deny those requests. They are governed by looking at a set of framework guiding principles within this PD ordinance, as well as the Innovation Mile Master Plan, which is something we'll introduce to you at the end of the meeting. It does come to you with a favorable recommendation, 11-0, from Plan Commission last night. And we would also ask that you approve this item on first reading.
Any additional conversation on this last night at Planning Commission?
None whatsoever. It was a very easy one.
Mr. President, I would move to waive the rules and approve ordinance 46-1023 on the first reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to waive the rules and approve ordinance number 46-10-23 on first reading. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Mr. President, I move to approve ordinance 46-1023.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 46-10-23. This is a roll call vote.
Mr. Sparks?
Aye.
Ms. Wiles?
Aye.
Mr. Air?
Aye.
Mr. Boyce?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
7 ayes, 0 nay. The ordinance is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council to consider ordinance number 47-10-23, an ordinance annexing approximately 1.1 acres at 15533 Cumberland Road, a part of Washington Business Park in Noblesville Township, establishing a public hearing, and resolution RC-48-23, adopting a fiscal plan.
Move to introduce ordinance 471023.
Second?
Ms. Yellen.
Good evening. This is a parcel of property that basically contains approximately 1 acre. Currently on the site is a residential structure. It is a part of the Washington Business Park. With this in mind and this being introduced today, I would ask that the council set a public hearing on this matter for the November 28th meeting. At that November 28th meeting, we would obviously hold the public hearing and also adopt the written fiscal plan. And then the next meeting that this would come back to the council for a vote on the actual ordinance would be your 12/19 meeting. Because your first meeting in December doesn't give me the 14 days that is required in between meetings. So we'll push it back to the 12/19. At that point, it'll be published in the newspaper. We have a 30-day waiting appeal period that could happen, and it should be annexed by mid-January 2024.
Any questions for Ms. Yelton?
Mr. President, I would move to establish a public hearing for ordinance 471023 at the November 28th meeting.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to establish a public hearing for ordinance number 47-10-23 at the November 28th meeting. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Miscellaneous number 1, council to consider resolution RC-45-23, a resolution amending resolution RC-36-23, which approved the lease agreement between the City of Noblesville Redevelopment Authority and the Redevelopment Commission relating to the Pleasant Street project. Mr. Hughes.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council, Jonathan Hughes, City Attorney. Excited that we are taking further steps forward in our Pleasant Street project. This morning, the Board of Works approved the contracts for Phase 2 and 3. Pleased to announce that those bids came in under our engineer's estimates as a total combined package. So we're excited about the project, excited that we're staying on track and under budget to this point. What we have before you tonight is an amendment to the lease agreement, which is this body's fiscal action related to the bonds. And what we're requesting is that we remove the TIF pledge from that lease. Essentially, financially, we don't need to pledge the TIF, and so it's more of a benefit to the city to not pledge it. We'll still use the TIF from Pleasant Street as a backup payment for the source, but we don't need to pledge it. So we're requesting your approval of that in tonight's resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Mr. Hughes?
Mr. President,
Ms. Wiles?
I would move that we approve resolution RC-45-23 as presented.
Second?
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution RC-46-23. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Thank you very much. Miscellaneous number 4, council to consider resolution RC-49-23, a resolution recognizing certain employees of the city.
We skipped one.
So what about 2?
Yep, you're correct. Thank you. Council to consider resolution RC-46-23, a resolution establishing the maximum civil city property tax rate for 2024 and authorizing the controller to request the rate be ratified by the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance. Mr. Spalding.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of the council, you took the action on the budget earlier and you thought that was all completed, but not so fast. There's actually one other related item that we attached to the budget where, as we've talked about before, and we had the short-term financing that we talked about earlier, you really have made a strategic decision to target our total city tax rate at $1.10. So as a companion to the budget ordinance every year, you pass a resolution such as this that directs me. There is another part of the process that is, not that familiar with folks, but after the budget is adopted, there's a separate process the city goes through with the State Department of Local Government Finance, which is called the Certified Budget Order, and it is through that process where the actual tax rate gets set. And it's with this resolution that you are directing and constraining me that at the time that I worked with the Department of Local Government Finance for that part of finalizing the 2024 budget, the city property tax rate cannot be set higher than the $1.10 target that you've established. And that's what this item does.
Any questions for Mr. Spalding?
Mr. President, I would move to approve Resolution RC 4623.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve Resolution RC-46-23. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Thank you. Miscellaneous number 4, council to consider Resolution RC-49-23, a resolution recognizing certain employees of the city of Noblesville. Aaron Smith.
You're up.
I'm up. So next month, we're recognizing some of our more tenured employees in the city of Noblesville. They have their own recognition ceremony, but Mr. O'Connor is the one that actually brought it up, and he's not able to be here tonight. But he thought they should be recognized formally in the minutes of our meeting as well. So I'll quickly read the whereas resolution, and then we'll have their names read into the record, just so that they are recognized for their many years of dedication. So the resolution reads, whereas the city of Noblesville has many functions for which it relies on employees to accomplish, most notably public safety, and certain public safety employees of the city have shown dedication by continuing their employment for multiple years, and the administration of the city annually recognizes city public safety employees who reach employment longevity milestones, and the Common Council and the City of Noblesville also wishes to recognize the efforts of the dedication of these public safety employees to their importance and their importance to the city. Now, therefore, the Common Council of the City of Noblesville hereby resolves to recognize and congratulate the employees of the City of Noblesville for their years of service to the city as follows. So I would just like to ask that we make a motion to pass this resolution and make sure that their names are included in the minutes.
Mr. President, I move to approve Resolution RC 4923 and enter into the minutes the names of those recognized.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve Resolution RC-49-23 and enter the names of the employees into the minutes. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. Miscellaneous number 5, council to consider Resolution RC-50-23, a resolution amending the comprehensive master plan of the city of Noblesville to include the Innovation Mile master plan. Ms. Asherman.
Good evening. I will try to give you guys as much enthusiasm as I had about this last night. Mark got to experience it. Since I've been here as long as I have, it's kind of hard to get me excited about planning stuff. This is actually one of the things that I've gotten very excited about and have spent the majority of the last year working on. So as many of you know, in, I believe 2021, the mayor announced at his State of the City an initiative he called Innovation Mile. So in early 2022, city staff, including engineering, economic development, the mayor's office, and planning began the process of selecting a consultant to develop a master plan for that area. Originally, we know that from Oleo Road to Cynthian Road is actually 2 miles. But the original plan area was actually Oleo Road to Prairie Baptist Road, which is a mile. As we got into the process early on, we realized the study area needed to expand to Cynthian Road, and therefore an Innovation Mile became Innovation 2 miles. The intent of the area is to develop a dynamic business and technology hub that will serve as an anchor for revolutionary thinking. It's also a gateway into our community And we wanted to leverage that area for long-term growth opportunities and catalyze reinvestment in Noblesville. The majority of the property right now is agricultural or larger lot residential properties, but Borg Warner is located on the western edge, and Indiana Joint Recovery Center is also under construction directly behind Borg Warner. So the exhibit on your screen is the land use types and categories map that just shows you general layouts. One of the biggest things with this is the redesign and re-layout of 141st Street. It currently terminates at Prairie Baptist Road. This plan envisions it carrying over to Cynthia Road. One of the things that has me the most excited about this plan is actually the what is called in the plan the heart of the area, which is the center green area. And the part I can't wait to see develop is actually the special boulevard that comes in from the north. And as part of the project approved earlier, will actually continue south of 141st Street and terminate at the event center. So we have some nice renderings that were provided by our consultant. And I do want to recognize Jeff Hill and Dan, I blinked on your last name, from WSP are here tonight. Unfortunately, it's not going to come to me. Silverman. Sorry, names are not my thing. If you had a number, I'd remember. So this is the special boulevard. This also is just how the area could be activated. There was a lot of attention to detail paid for the pedestrian experience. We want this to be a campus, but we want people to find places throughout the area that they feel comfortable to gather. So these are just some examples of how the area could look as we continue to build it out. Apparently, I lost a couple of them, but. So this was heard by the Plan Commission, and we also had a study session on this last month, where the consultant had a much more extensive presentation, and you also were sent copies and links to the document a month ago. We are asking that you approve this. It was sent to you with a 11-0 recommendation for adoption from the Plan Commission.
Any questions for Ms. Ashelman?
Mr. Boyce has something.
Mr. Boyce?
First off, I just want to acknowledge the team's hard work on this project, especially you, Denise. I know you've put in a lot of time on this and kept everybody on track, so thank you very much for that. As mentioned, it went through last night unanimously with a positive recommendation. There were two neighbors that were local neighbors that did express their concerns. Full transparency, their largest concern was mainly due to traffic, especially public safety problems during traffic. Jim Hellman talked to them quite a bit about it, and I think somewhat calmed some of their fears and talked to them a little bit about it. Also, I think that they're thinking of the arena as a little larger than what the arena is actually going to be with what they were talking, but I didn't want to say that in the meeting to them, but I do believe that that is one other thing. So with that, then, I would love to make a motion in favor of number 5, miscellaneous, RC-50-23. And I would say that if Mr. Sparks votes against it, it's not because he doesn't like the project, it's because he doesn't have an iPad in front of him, so he didn't see any of the pretty pictures to these.
Second.
Thank you.
That's fine.
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution RC-50-23. This is a hand vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council comments.
Mr. President,
Ms. Wiles?
I'm going to just jump in here. You went through the recognition of the employees of the city pretty quickly. I just think it's important to point out that we have 35 employees with 15 years or more of service to the city of Noblesville, which is just pretty amazing to me. We've got 12 at 15 years, 9 at 20, 11 at 25 years, and 3 at 30 years. So we've got some amazing people that are working and dedicating their lives to the city of Noblesville. So we thank them very much for their service.
Absolutely. Any other comments? Okay, we're adjourned.